Hi, my name is Matt Diedrich. I'm an elder here at Buffalo Free Church. I'm going to talk today about budgeting. So first off, a budget is mainly just a plan for how we can allocate a resource, usually money, sometimes time or other whatever. Usually just kind of starts with thinking about how much of it we might have. Right? I'm going to start with a plan there, and then how we'll kind of split it up and use it. Right? I guess it's just about making a plan. And so some of the reasons it's important to plan and to make a budget is that this gives us a chance to kind of prepare for any things that might come our way during a time frame. We can kind of be ready to make wise decisions and not just kind of react in the moment. So there's a couple of Proverbs. So Proverbs 13:16 says, "A wise man thinks ahead, a fool doesn't and even brags about it." And Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty." And so again, just having that plan in place can allow us to react in an intelligent way without kind of just spending willy-nilly or whatever. It also is very important for any sort of long-term goals, right? We have goals we want to accomplish. If, as a ministry leader, it might be some ministry we want to accomplish. In our personal lives, it might be retirement or a trip or a car or whatever, some sort of thing down the road. And again, having a plan for how we can get there can make a big difference. And so we can be smart in how we spend. Or again, with time, right? How we use our time. So I think it's also important to view kind of budgeting as part of an assessment cycle. I'm a teacher, so we do assessment all the time. We talk about this cycle a lot. Some places refer to it as like plan, do, check, and act. All right, it's kind of these four pieces. So the planning piece is really where that budget comes in. We're going to plan how we're going to spend our money or how we're going to spend our time. Again, we're taking time to carefully think through that, to make wise decisions, ask for God's input in how we want to do that, and we're thinking about our goals and how we want to accomplish those in that whole process. With money, so oftentimes we're budgeting over, maybe at least personally, over like a month or something like that. And so sometimes we do have expenses that are not monthly. And so it's important to, again, take the time to think through what all of those things might be and to kind of account for them in the monthly budget. So sometimes, if there's a once a year insurance payment or something, right, we can split it up and budget for it throughout the year. Again, with ministry, just thinking about not spending all of a monthly sort of amount when there's some bigger event coming up that we want to save for. We can make those plans. And so that's all kind of part of that planning process. So that was the first step of that assessment cycle. Then do, right? We try to follow the budget as much as we can, or the rest of our plan, or it might be more than just a budget. But again, sometimes things get in the way. Sometimes opportunities arise that we didn't plan for. And so we do want to be able to, again, make those wise decisions, not just react in the moment, but take the time to think through those. But sometimes they're worth doing. And so it doesn't always kind of go to plan, and that's okay. It's just about having that plan. So it's plan, do, check was the third thing. And so part of that is just keeping track of our expenses, or how we use our time, or again, whatever it is we're budgeting through that whole time frame, so we can compare it to our budget. Sometimes if you're really struggling with making that plan, it can be helpful to even just track that for a time without a budget. And then you can use that to kind of think about what the budget should be. But it's keeping all of the receipts, it's all that kind of stuff, and keeping track of all of it. Spreadsheets can be great tools for that. I know a lot of this is maybe somewhat numbers and that sort of stuff, which I like, but I know a lot of people don't. But again, this can really make a difference in the ministry, right? So I think it's helpful to be thinking about that, right? That there is a purpose behind this. It isn't just numbers for numbers' sake. It's about the ministry, or it's about our goals in life. Luke 14:28 says, "Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it?" And so those are Jesus' words. And so we're thinking there is some goal, right? The tower, and that's the focus. But planning helps us get there. And so then again, that checking part. And so plan, do, check, and then act. was the last step. And so that's when we can kind of reflect on how it went, right? Did we live up to our budget or meet our budget or not, right? And that can allow us to make plans. It's a cycle, so we go back to the planning step again, but we can be thinking about, does that mean we need to budget differently? Do we need to spend differently in a future month, future year, whatever? And so as a leader, another big important kind of point is just that we need to communicate a budget with everyone we're leading, at least as needed. And there might be details that aren't as important or whatever, but just kind of having that overall transparency and allowing people to know where they're at and what they need to do. And it's true in a family too, right? It's everyone who's kind of spending money or doing different things needs to be aware of where the budget's at and keep track of that so they can make their own plans and can be part of that assessment cycle. So in my own life, we've had some times where money has gotten tighter, and so we've been able to kind of budget and think through where the outflows of the money are going, so we can again use that kind of assessment cycle to make some changes, right? Like we're gonna not go out to eat as many times a week as we had been going to maybe some more movies in the theaters. We're going to cut back here so that we can still do this thing over here. And so again, that's what the budget lets you do, is to think through those things. And so that helped us get through some rougher patches, enabled us to continue to kind of save at times too. It's another important piece of a personal budget anyway, is to be thinking about, again, those long-term goals and to be planning for those. As I close, just wanted to re-emphasize again just that God calls us to be stewards of the resources He has provided to us. Everything is coming from Him. And so out of respect and worship for Him, we need to be wise with His resources, again, that He's provided to us. And so budgeting, making these plans is how we do that, right? We can make sure we are accomplishing His purposes with His resources.